Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mayonsa JT Muse, and welcome to night 2 of the Orisha interview series. This series was created because 222.9 The Mothership, your online mystic radio station, is celebrating 1 year on the airwaves. And I spent that entire year just working on the musical rotation. Why? Because the musical rotation is based on planetary alignment and 7 of the main Orishas. And tonight we honor Ogun. But before we get to that, it's important to always honor and pay homage to our ancestors. So I'm going to start with doing libations. Those of you out there watching are free to join me, but since, of course, we aren't in one another's physical presence, we can still call the names and meditate on the ancestors that lived in Iray, that seek truth, that seeked blessing, that lived their lives on the right side of Iray. And if you have ancestors you would like to honor, please type their names in the comment section. Those of you that are just learning to pour libations, it's important to pour libations on some sort of plant or some sort of soil. Why? Because when we make our transition back into Orun from IEA, our bodies become a part of the earth, and the earth holds the wisdom. So when you pour libations, you pay homage to your ancestors by honoring the wisdom that they left here on earth. So I have some water here. Do something a little smaller. Omitutu, Onatutu, Iletutu. That means refresh my head, refresh my home, refresh my road. I pour libation to all ancestors who lived in Iray. I pour libations to the ascended masters of our crafts. I pour libation to the ancestors we will never know by name, who endured the worst so that we may be here today. And as I continue to pour this libation, please feel free to meditate on your ancestors, and if you feel the need, please type their names in the comment section. Ashe, ancestors. Ibashe Ogun, Ibashe Ogun, Ibashe Mojuba, 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 Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Oh. All right. Still not quite done paying homage to the ancestors, because there's one particular ancestor that I would like to highlight and honor tonight. 222.9 The Mothership has 9 distinguished ancestors, and tonight I'm going to honor the one that fathered me. Take a look.
Get it right the first time so you don't have to worry about it. When you let a fool make you act a fool, you a bigger fool than the fool. Don't do anything you can't live with the consequences of. Baba Old Man Sam returned from Orun to IEA on Wednesday, January 8th, 1941. It was the second decan of Capricorn season, the half-Taurus kind. And the African way of the stars, it was the season of the baobab tree, and the day vibrated on a 6. The moon was waxing in Taurus. Saturn and Venus were in congruence with cardinal Earth. Baba Old Man Sam was Arkansas-born, old-school Detroit refined. He who was my very first example of what a respectable man looked like. He who was a man of many tools. Tools to fix cars, tools to landscape the earth, tools to garden, tools to build homes, tools to serve as a deacon, and tools to sing. He who sang with Reverend James Cleveland and the Mighty Clouds of Joy. He who taught me level-headed consideration about everything. Baba Old Man Sam seasoned 44 years before my return. A man who was always teaching, but willing to learn. A natural alpha man with nothing to prove and lots to give. He who always drove many roads on intuition and maps goes. Always lost to him in dominoes. Old Man Sam sprouted my green thumb with a turnip green patch on my grandmother's land next to a double set of railroad tracks. Sat us down and discussed history to make sure we had the facts. He who is the reason I am known for wise sayings. He who is of the lineage of clergy, reverends, deacons, and women praying. Baba Old Man Sam's transition eclipsed my 16th solar return. It was the first decan of Leo season, and the moon was waxing in the same sign. And the African way of the stars, it was the season of the judge, and the day vibrated on an 11-2. Spiritual mastery. Old Man Sam will always be to me the coolest black man who ever lived. There are not enough words to express my love and my gratitude for the wisdom of this man. And why not? My spirit only chose him to be my father. 222.9 The Mothership honors Old Man Sam as a distinguished ancestor, the ultimate one. Ashe.
And we're back. And now that we've honored the ancestors who carry the wisdom of our past, we're here in the present moment. I'd like to take this present moment to give a special congratulations to someone to come. This sister I've met in the community, she's been a drummer, she's been a pretty good spirit every time I've seen and encountered her, and she is beginning her journey into Ialosha. And who is her crown? Well, I'll give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. We're honoring Ogun tonight, aren't we? Take a look.
Ibasheo Lodomare, Ibasheo Lorun, Ibasheo Lofin, Mojaba Bobo Orisha. Ibashe to the ancestors. Mojaba Ogun, Mojaba Ogun, Mojaba Ogun, Mojaba Oba, Mojaba Oba, Mojaba Oba. Congratulations to Sister Ayofemi Balewa on her beginning her Orisha journey as a child of Ogun and Oba. Is going down 2/22/2022. The portal opens to receive this sister into Osha. Congratulations, and may the Orishas continue to guide and help and build your journey. May the ancestors continue to lead you on the path that healed their bloodline. And I just want to say congratulations, and all under the sound of my voice, send this sister some positive, loving energy as she begins her journey into higher levels of spirituality. Congratulations, and Olodumare bless.
Ashe. Now let's get into tonight's guest of honor. I met this man, and it's kind of like an understatement for him. He just has a very exuberant, natural, positive energy. And in all honesty, I knew of him by name before I knew of him by face. But we met face to face at the memorial ceremony for a very venerated ancestor in our community, Baba Fana. He is a master drummer. He is a master teacher. He is a child of Ogun and just an all-around wonderful person to know. I speak of Baba Jebada Powell. How are you this evening? Baba Jebada, are you there? Are you there? Okay, let's see what's going on with this. Baba Jebada, are you there?
Yes.
There you are. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm blessed. Doing fine. Yeah, I was responding to you all that time.
Well, Ogun does work out the wires and all the technology, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, let's take this interview straight from the top. I want to know about some of your first practical experiences with the Orisha Ogun.
Hmm. Okay. In order to really make that have a lot of impact and understanding, had no idea of Orishas and Ifa early on. But however, my Ori and my path has always taken me in that direction. And here's why I'm gonna share with you. I got into the religion in 2014. However, my background, even when I was in high school, has always been science, physics, chemistry, biology. So I've always been very much in the technology and scientific vein in my life and dealings. Little did I know what was staring me at that particular point in time. And even later on, as my career blossomed, it still started down that very same path because I became a chemist and then a chemical engineer. So it's been a very very deep part of me. But as you know, that Ogun is his symbol is iron, and he also has two machetes. And one machete is used for clearing obstacles, clearing paths, and that moves technology forward, moves civilization forward. The other one is basically for farming and cultivating. And before, when we would look back at civilization itself, all people and tribes were nomadic. And so, therefore, in order to be able to settle down, you had to be able to clear the underbrush, the trees, in order for people to stay put and be able to grow. And then to go forward, you had to have machete to cut forward. And why I bring that up as being extremely important in my life, and I think a very important crossroad, is my high school advisor told me that I needed to go and be take some sort of vocational um, degree, and I said, "Oh, I want to work in chemistry. I want to do science," and had the audacity to tell me that I wasn't capable and that we type of people, us, really shouldn't go in that direction. And so, and proved them wrong. So that was an important lesson to me because I actually excelled in in chemistry and in physics. So cutting down walls and obstacles, you don't let anybody put those in front of you. The only ones that you put that are obstacles are the ones that you put in front of you yourself. So that I learned early on, and it has served me well in my life's journey.
Ashe. So, because you said a number of things here that made me think a lot of Ogun energy. Because, for example, the reason I ran my father's libation tonight is because, as you heard in the video, he moved us next to two railroads, one northbound, one southbound. Every time I saw my father, he always had tools in his hands. And when he had time to sit and teach us wisdom, he was always talking about either ancient civilizations or future civilizations. And we commonly say about Ogun that he opens the roads, that he is the father of civilization, he owns all technology. What would you say is a very common misconception of the Orisha Ogun?
Ooh, misconception. Um, ah, that he is savage. And when I say savage, meaning Mau Mau type, where you think of just cutting off limbs, because Ogun is one of the warriors, and absolutely he does have the temperament for that, but only in defense of family and people and tribe, ones that he loves and under his protection. Ogun is very, very protective. So it's not helter skelter type, and that is a big misconception because he's very powerful Orisha and spirit and energy there. So I would say that would be the biggest one.
Thank you for clarifying that because there are a lot of patakis where Ogun catches a lot of flack. You know, when you read some of the patakis of Ogun, it's easy to get nervous about his energy and get um, an unbalanced concept of him, if you will. And for those of us that are coming into Orisha and learning about Orisha, it's very important to understand that not only Ogun, but none of the Orishas are to be taken as kind of these petty hitmen that you can call down to do your spiritual bidding when you're upset with someone or something like that. So I thank you very much for clarifying that. But while we're on the subject of technology, let's discuss how Ogun likes to kind of stay in the woods and sometimes in the dark. Hint, hint.
Yes. Well, Ogun does very much like the woods. He retreats, so he likes to go ahead and bring forth growth and progress to make life easier for the community. However, he doesn't really stay in the mix. He's kind of like a henchman or someone that works behind the scenes in energy, but always trying to motivate and keep things on a positive vein and going straight. But when you say going back into the forest, there's a big love for the outdoors, because as far as partners go, oh well, everybody wouldn't know about uh, Chosi, Chosi the hunter, and Ogun and the dogs. They run and hunt in the woods all the time. And little did I know. Here again, I'm if it's hard to talk and not know the audience if the whole audience isn't aware of Ori, which is kind of our destiny, and that becomes unlocked as we learn more of ourselves. But I'll go back again to my earlier days, is that living in New York City, in Harlem, 8 million people crowded on top of people. I grew up in the projects. We had hundreds of families in one building. If you were to go to a prison penitentiary and you actually went inside the projects, it looks like that's what it is, cells on all the floors and their families.
Wow.
Now, with that, you would not believe, though, that in time I had wound up going and finding all of the parks in New York City. I visited each and every one of them. So there's always been a predilection of wanting the outdoors. And as I got older, I would just keep expanding and going to forests. So on the East Coast, like New Hampshire, Vermont, I've climbed Mount Marcy, I've climbed Mount Washington, did the Appalachian Trail. Even when I got down to Texas, we don't really have mountains down here, but going west to the hill country, uh, the outdoors is real important. And the reason why is that I find one can really get in touch with Olodumare, the creator, God, the oneness. And that is what keeps a person centered and able to really be confident in themselves and who and what they are, because there's just so much, how can you say it, stimuli in the world that's constantly going off all the time, that's got your attention. You don't have an opportunity to sit back and meditate and contemplate you and fill your Godhead within yourself. And that's a very important tie. And we as a people, once we gain that inner spirituality and understand that and be able to see and recognize it in one another, then it comes that mutual respect and love for each other. Uh, we have, as a people, in the environment that we are here in this country, have been, just totally brutalized.
Oh,
So
yes.
we've got a lot of heavy baggage and scars and things that we have to work through. We're all been psychologically damaged, and that could be a whole nother talk I could get into, and how we pull ourselves out of that in order to gain the cohesiveness and the ability to look forward with the same eye and understanding. Uh, as you know, and many of my friends that are really close to me, it's hard for me to talk without getting into politics, because there's just so many political forces and powers that are here, that are part of our environment, that we have to live and deal with, and it's not even of our own making. So I don't want to digress and get off into politics, because I'll take you there, and we'll be there, and I'll be talking about Pan-Africanism and everything else. But uh, going out and being out at night under the stars, and you looking at our nine planets revolving around the sun, being one solar system, and just understanding the creation and just how magnificent that is, and the earth rotating in 24 hours, and we don't even fall off. Because if you go in a car and you're going 100 miles an hour, 150, what the force of that wind is. Can you imagine being in one point on the planet and being right back in that same spot in 24 hours? That is real fast. And here we are. So we take a lot of this for granted. But as you open up and look up at the stars and feel your relationship to the solar system, you get to have that understanding. Now we talk about I go so many directions. You can talk about that on the That's astronomy, and that's astronomical. That is the macro scale. And if you take it down where I was before in the chemistry, and you look at an atom is a little solar system. You've got your electrons and your protons. Protons are positive in the center, and then you got your electrons, which are negative, and they're spinning around it, and they don't even collapse on it, because if you have a magnet and you got a negative pole and a positive, they'll collapse on each other. But you say, but it doesn't. So there's a lot of power there. And those very little atoms, again, have so much force till they can, annihilate an entire planet if you try to break those bonds apart. So I attach a lot of heavy thinking in those areas and directions, and I need that quiet time to actually get away and do that. But go ahead.
That makes a lot.
Something?
Oh yes, that makes a lot of sense, because you speaking about the woods and the important role of the woods to Ogun and Oshozi, where he sits in the woods. That's probably where Ogun meditates to come back to what to bring to civilization. And that stimulates a thought with me as being a daughter of Oya, Omo Oya, and the common thing that's pushed about Oya is that she's married to both Ogun and Shango. And when I embody that into my personal experience, I take that to mean that when Oya is with Shango, it's like she's the air that spreads the fire of transformation, outer and inner transformation. But when she returns to Ogun, she goes back to refresh and regroup herself before she goes out next, because that's one of those traits that I've learned that Oya and Ogun have in common. They go out to do whatever they need to do, and then they come back in. And it's something that I do naturally. It's like go out, land a tornado, and then go back into the breeze, because when you're in the woods, usually the winds are still, or the winds are usually very calming. But what's the wind like when things are on fire?
What are, the winds when they're on fire? Then they're blowing hard, very hard.
And
Yes.
the Ogun energy, right? But the Ogun energy feels more like where she relaxes. I haven't found the patakis yet. I'm sure there are some, but the more popular pataki is that Oya goes into battle with Shango. You see what I'm saying? But it feels a lot more, until I learn better. I'm just speaking on what I've learned thus far. It seems like she goes back to Ogun to refresh, and then she goes out with Shango for war.
For war. I think your understanding is correct on that. That's good.
So let's talk about Ogun and music, because I did speak about you being a master drummer. Before we get into what we're talking about with Ogun's music with the mothership, I want to know about your journey through music.
Oh, okay. My journey through music. Interesting. Okay. Again, living in the projects and the tenements in the summertime, folks are out on the stoops all night long. During the days, lived in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. People be out playing congas, bongos, all the time. That's all you would hear. So that was a very important influence. And it's just the same thing as growing up in an African village. It's why a lot of the folks from Guinea and Mali that grow up in the villages excellent drummers, they hear it all the time. You get to become very much accustomed. So the same thing happened in my growth. Is just that is something that's totally infused. So my musical aspect, I started playing congas and Latin music long before I got actually on the djembes. Uh, Playing. Oh, okay. Another thing, another piece. Let me just throw this little curve in there. Is that on a lot of the corners where you have a candy store, right next to it, you'd have a botanica, and those of us that are in a religion know that if you go in there, you go to buy herbs, candles, and we had a lot of Haitians that live in Harlem, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Cubans. So I was exposed to that and listening to Bata playing all the time. So my first love was Latin music. It wasn't until uh, later, and I can remember it was 1957 when my mom brought home Alatunji Drums of Passion LP, and I played that and started listening to that. And my favorite one on there was Primitive Fire, and that took me to a whole nother world and level of playing. However, at that time there weren't that many folks. I never even seen a djembe, so it wasn't until much later that I got into playing African music. I still stayed in Latin bands. Uh, Once I got out of, let's see, I was in college. I played Latin bands. In New York, there's the Cheetah Club. There's the Palladium, Manhattan Center. All of these are huge halls where folks get together and dance. So I can sit here and tell you about Eddie Palmieri, Willie Colon, Bobby Rodriguez, all of them jam every night, and you get there and you dance and party. That's how we socialize. So African music wasn't there, but I did see Alatunji, and I did start to see Laji, because when they would come to town, they came as a dance troupe. So it wasn't just drummers, but you had a whole entourage. It was actually a ballet, and that was really eye opening. So it wasn't too much later when I came actually and moved to Houston. And I got in Houston in 1985 that I started dibbing and dabbing in djembe and African music. And so I started listening, started playing, and I never forget. At that time, there used to be the International Festival downtown,
I
and back in
love the
those days,
iFest. Yes, I love the
they
iFest.
really did it up. I mean, they did it up big time. And that's when I met a lot of brothers here that were djembe players. So I met Cedric, Washington. Yeah, I met who else did I meet at that time? Robert Smalls, uh, Baba Foladay. Now he and I would go to on Sundays to Miller Outdoor Theater, and his group would be out there practicing. So I'd be, watching and checking them all out, listening to the licks. But by this time, I was already starting to read, listen, and train on the drumming. And when I say train, go to drumming clinics. And then I met Abu Bakr, which was my first actual one-on-one teacher here in Houston. And he had taught me a lot in the way of djembe playing. And then from that point, I became what you would call a journeyman drummer, meaning that I would go and travel around the country and go to like the Wula uh, retreats, which is a whole week of master drummers from Africa, or go to the one in Florida, and then there's the one in California. Then, and also we would have, and when I say we, I'm talking about the black community here. Christina, she had her dance troupe, and she would invite some real key drummers in, and then I would get with them after we would do the drum clinic and the day of drumming, and hang out with them and learn. So from that point, the rest came natural. All of a sudden, things started falling in place, and that is what actually got me into, really deeply into, going into Ifa and into the Orisha religion, into Ocha, because I had the desire to um, go and play bata. I wanted to play sacred, consecrated music, because once I got the fundamentals down, the rest was all spirit. Spirit just drove all the rest. I ain't have to do nothing. Once got the technique, it just flows through your hands, everything else. And those of us, again, that have had the experience of having the Orishas mount us or possess us, we know how that comes about and how that happens. So that whole transformation was taking place, and all of those rhythms that I had learned from my childhood back in New York on the corners with the bata playing and everything else Latin wise, all of a sudden they all just started, the pieces just started falling together. And then
Yeah, so oh, you took the next question right out of my head. I was gonna ask you, what did that fusion feel like when you were drumming before receiving Ogun, and then the energy after, or or the fusion right in the middle? I want to know a little bit more about that area.
major difference. Oh wow. It's really it's really tough to explain. It's like if you're going to, let's say, playing a piano, ding 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 ding, and you're studying it, you're thinking about it, how you're playing. And drumming, you're thinking about, your timing, this and that and the other. But then after a while, once the spirit was in me and I was totally grounded, never looked at that again a day. So I can go and watch or listen to another drummer and he's playing something, and you hear it, and you go ahead and play it. You don't have to look at music anymore, cheap music, none of that stuff. You can just do it. And once I really knew that I had it was when I could just go and drum and play alone and just have people dancing and smiling and not have any other accompaniment. So that was a good thing, because I knew that I was really bringing uh, energy, spirit, and life into other people's lives. And that I like a lot. And that's one of the biggest gifts, that I have to give and to share. And that's what I really enjoy doing.
Ashe, and I was giving the honor of bearing witness to that craft and skill in motion. And sometimes I would sit back and watch you, and I'm like, he is out of there, and half everybody in the building is going with him. So now that we're on the subject of music, because music is the entire reason that we're sitting here today, and there were certain musicians and certain bands and certain male singers that I chose to be on Tuesday's musical rotation. And it's interesting that Ogun is the father of civilization, while where the Western world began to, you know, copy our traditions. We know that. Tuesday planetarily is ruled by Mars, which is the masculine planet of unbridled drive. And that led me more into the deeper, more meditative male energy, as opposed to Shango's being more fiery, flashy, and in your face. So with Ogun, I do more of the Lou Rawls, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, John Coltrane type of energy, and also incorporating, interestingly enough, Fela Kuti style music and things like that to really enhance that Tuesday rotation. And I just kind of want to know from you, as a musician yourself, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like the Orishas in certain music? Because I'm gonna go a little further about why I'm saying this. One of the main reasons why here on the mothership I chose mainly old school music, or music that sounds old, is because when I stop hearing and feeling the spirit in music, I can't listen to it. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts on feeling certain Orisha energies in certain music and songs with a lot of our genius musical archives, should I say? I just want to know your thoughts about music in that area.
Well, it's one reason why I fell in love with your station because of the music and selection that you have and that you play. I mean, it is really refreshing and off the chart, and it puts me in the very right move. Like you say, Fela Kuti. I mean, wow,
I'm actually
just beautiful. And I go down the list. Hugh Masekela. We talk about Pharaoh Saunders, and yeah, the connection and the beauty and the expression that they have behind their playing is phenomenal. And now we're talking about males there, but like Alice Coltrane, outstanding.
she makes me want to go buy a harp. Like, that's on my bucket list, to learn to play harp. I'm going to play harp.
I know there are just so many. I mean, really talented artists. It's hard to. It just takes your breath away. And I try and find the time to listen to them all, and you can't. My library with music, just as I have with written books, is enormous. But the way you mix them and what you have in rotation is good and refreshing. I know that I can pop it on and listen, and there you go. Just hey, take me away, carry me away, because it's always going to be on time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, that means a lot coming from you, because I actually spent this whole entire first year of the mothership on the airwaves mainly. Whew, it's been a dance with Ogun. It's been a dance with Ogun. Because you master the system, then you build it. Then I have to come back and train myself on the system I built. That's kind of embarrassing. but it's the truth. And then the second thing was making sure that the musical rotations are aligned. So now that that's set, I wanted to get more into dealing with the people. Now, I'm going to say this because I want it to be known. Details pending later, but Tuesdays and Thursdays are viewed as Father's Day on the mothership. Or should I say the fathership? Because all day Tuesday and all day Thursday, you hear the fathers. I would like to hear from you as a man in today's times, and no need to open that can of maggots, but in the spirit of Ogun, how do you feel that the spirit of Ogun is important to manhood and fatherhood today?
Wow. Wow. Yes, 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 yes. Um, Very important. And wow, because in a couple of ways. One is that the father, the male, he has to go ahead and understand and take his rightful place as the protector and as moving and pushing his community, his village forward. It is important that in that respect and in that regard, that if one is trying, let's say, to go ahead with technology or to create and do a civilization, one person, and it's so important, one person does not move or make a civilization. It's got to be a collective thing. One other aspect, and I'm not going to really get into it so much, because we as a people must work more on the collective aspect. And we're in a country where capitalism is okay as a model only for an economic, um, how you say, as an economic ideology, as a law there. But the aspect that brings it down is the problem is that the morality and the ethics behind it is counterproductive. It's diametrically opposed to collectivism. So if we all ran around, I'm an individual, I'm going to do it on my own, I don't need nobody, I ain't sharing nothing, and besides, the whole world is about monopoly. When we grew up playing monopoly, I got to clear the board, and in order to be the winner, I got to take it all and you lose. And now I feel good about myself. But look at all the other people, that you had to have to hurt and step on. So there's just so much there. And when you get into the thought of an Ogun type of spirit, you're looking at, hey, I need land, I need sustenance for my people collectively, and nobody moves any faster than all of us are moving. So this is how, it there's a lot that goes into it, but these are the things that need to be discussed, that need to be talked about. We have to get back to where it is really critical that we don't, and when I say we now, I'm talking about the younger generation, don't have to fight and struggle so hard to reinvent the wheel, to know that, our parents, grandparents, and great grandparents have experienced a lot of this, and they can share and give so much where we don't have to stumble into the same mistakes. mistakes, and it gives us a way to leapfrog ahead. Because I'm going to tell you one thing real important for us collectively is that we have to build wealth within the Black community. We have to be able to have um, not just be a consumer, but to build real wealth. And that, is land that is holding on to have a legacy. And so, you have to have that forward type thinking. But if we're distracted and we feeling that we're competing against each other all the time, and it doesn't work. It just falls apart. So I can go into it even deeper. There's a lot more that goes with what I'm talking about, but those are some real fine and important things. And, not until when I was getting into my, maybe 30s, yeah, did I really start wanting to sit down and talk with my grandparents and find out about the depression when they were growing up and getting some real insight into stuff. When we're young and we're in our teens, early, in our 20s, we feel invincible. We got the world by the tail, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
ripping and running, and just burning it up. But we've got to work really smart. We've got to use all of the tools that we have in our possession. And again, Ogun is about tools. He's forger. He's the blacksmith. You go to Nigeria or to Guinea, and you talk about Ogun. Symbolism for him in the village is the blacksmith. You have the big anvil, hammer, and pounding things out. So we know what it takes, and our legacy as a people have been stolen. I mean, the greatness on the continent of Africa and everything that we have built has been so distorted and pulled not even out of context, but eradicated so that we have no true knowledge of ourselves. And when sometimes you hear or read in the Bible, lost tribe. Well, we are a lost tribe here in America. I feel this is my opinion. Now, I look at
Absolutely.
it. And that's why I was talking about Pan Africanism, and there's just so many things. I sit down and read like books, When We Rule, and The Lost Legacy. We have so much, and we aren't even able to pass these things down to our kids anymore. It's so we need to go ahead and start talking about it. Well, let me give you another example. I'm going to back up real fast because
Okay, take your time.
you brings up you just stirs things up in me. When I took the trip to Ghana, and I was in Ghana, and I had my ledger out with me. I keep a journal. And I've got Baba Fanad's name. I have everybody that was on the trip. I write down and journal each and every day of my life. I've got journals that go back to 1975 up till today. When we wake up in the morning and you have dreams, your subconscious lets out so much. That's really pure, because at that time you can really get connected with the creator and start feeling, or your ancestors come back and tell you a lot of things, as you well know. So we have these what we call Mises, where we can go ahead and talk to our ancestors and our spirits. But the only reason I bring up the journal right now, and I can sit down and read when uh, we were having dialogue with our group that went on the trip about Marcus Garvey and so forth, and what we had for breakfast that morning. But I can give all of my journals to my kids, to my grandkids. They will know me. They'll know who Jebada was. Not just the half an hour or an hour at my obituary in the eulogy. That's crazy. And we all have this opportunity. But if one isn't tapped in, if one isn't really thinking in these grander scales, in a more broader scale, they go right past you and whoosh, life just pass you by. So each and everybody should view their life as important enough to chronicleize it and go ahead and say, yes, this I can pass off to my offspring. And when I go back and read stuff that I wrote 5 years, 10 years ago, I can even see the growth in myself, the change. But can most people do that? No, it'd only be a small part. But if you wrote it down each and every day and you started journaling, you've got it. And so this is how we grow. One has to be able to be open to ideas and change and listen. And that's one of the other things. You know, I used to, again, I'll go back when I was young, I was a hothead. I'd like to go ahead and debate up and down, left and right. No, you're wrong, this, that, and the other. But I don't do that no more because I understand. I love my brothers and sisters. And if they're not ready at this point in time to receive and understand, they're just not ready. You just tell your truth, lay your seed, and walk on. There's nothing that goes ahead and takes me off my center unless I'm being attacked. And if attack, all bets are off because everybody has a right to self-preservation and to live. That you do that. There's no such thing as turning the other cheek if somebody's ready to smash your jaw in. You go for it. So anyhow, that's part of life according to Ogun Jebada.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm over here jotting down notes. So, everybody listening, in the spirit of Ogun, my question is this, because yes, I'm Momo Oya. It's my job to stir you up. So, here's the question. When you wake up every day meditating in the spirit of Ogun, how do you use the Ogun in you to create and found a better civilization? Because the one we were living in is gone. Let's just own it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, last question of the hour. How can the listeners learn more about Baba Jebada's world? Do we want to catch up with what you're doing and what you're up to? Tell us about, the drumming, or what do you have going on that you would like for us to be a part of?
Okay. Well,
chasing Ogun in the woods. Can we chasing Ogun in the woods?
In the woods. Go for a nature hike with me. Take a run down to the beach with me. Get on a bike and ride the trails on bikes. That's what I do. I'm dead serious about that. But really, to enter would be to attend, drum circles. I'm always doing a drum circle here and there. Maybe what I'll do in the future when I get ready to have one is let you know so that you can put it over the airways. Baba Jebada is going to have an open drum circle, welcome to attend, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's it. I go to the full moon drum circles, and I stay at oh man, I try to get down at least once a week to Peggy Park right there on Alameda, and just drums, and that's always a good place and opportunity to catch me.
Ashe. Thank you. And it's funny because Third Ward is so historic. And for many that don't know, I was born in Third Ward. And just earlier today, I was listening to the Parliament with the Mothership Connection when they were live here in Houston. And I was like, were they conjuring this? I think they were, because it just felt something in my spirit every time I hear that. Swing down to the chariot, stop and let me ride. And then I hear the live version where he was saying, Houston, the mothership is coming down. Houston, the mothership is coming down. I'm like, well, that's kind of a correlation there. And listeners, you heard it. You want to know what Baba Jebada is up to? You will have to be tuned in on Tuesdays to find out, because Ogun disappears back in the woods quickly. So I would just like to say thank you so very much for joining me for this interview, and bearing with me and ironing out the kinks and learning the new things as my baby mothership goes into her second year. Do you have any closing thoughts before we close out this interview?
No, I think I've said it all. Just I wish everybody, peace and blessings and prosperity in the new year. We're going to really need it. If more than ever, we gotta lock step, lock ranks.
Thank you very much for joining me, and we will be in touch for future updates.
Okay.
Okay. And there we have it, folks. Tonight's interview, Ogun and the Fathers of Song. Now, you can look out for this interview to be aired on the Mothership on the few Tuesdays. I'm chewing on whether or not I'm going to run it immediately or if I'm going to save this little morsel for Taurus season. You decide. In the meantime, beam up to the Mothership from Google Play for you Android babies out there. Just go to Google Play, punch in 222.9, the Mothership, and bam, beam up. If you are on the iPhone, you want the Simple Radio app. You download that app and you punch 222.9, the Mothership, into the search engine. And if you're beaming up from your desktop, the website is www.poeticallymuse.org/mothership. I will be posting that link shortly. Hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and back to the groove. Ashe.